Hello everyone, this is Serious Trivia. Welcome to match 2 of round 1 for our subscriber game tournament. And on the green side, we have Bananafishbones being led by Zhang Liang, following with Shi Xie and Wen Chou. And looking at the army composition, we have a fair bit of spear infantry from the Yellow Turbans, slightly cheaper alternatives compared to some of the Han variants to get store shield out here, and I guess using the little bit of money he had left over, he picked up one of the Defector Saber units. Then for Shi Xie, he has his range component with 2 crossbow and 2 archers, perhaps to get a little bit of fire ammo in there. And then on Wen Chou, he has 2 Xiongnu cavalry, followed by 2 of the veteran Saber Northern Infantry and 2 of the regular Saber Northern Infantry. So favoring quite a bit of melee infantry, 5 units of them in total, and also quite balanced with 5 units of spear infantry. And then a little bit of range splash in there, followed by 2 melee cav. So not a lot of cavalry options, a very defensive army on this side. In terms of generals, Zhang Liang and Shi Xie both are pretty tanky generals. Shi Xie is one of those strategists with double health. Wen Chou is actually quite powerful in multiplayers because of the Siju Roar, where he can roar 4 times to drop enemy morale by 30, quite powerful. Then on the red side, we have Terracotta Warriors with an all cavalry comp being led by Zhou Yu, followed by Zheng Jiang and Sun Ren, and he has exactly 6 range cav, 6 melee cav, and 6 shot cav. And all the shot cavalry have been upgraded to rank 10, and all the range cavalry have been upgraded to rank 3. Quite an interesting choice. I personally don't favor ranking up melee units because it doesn't bring back much, but in this case, since his cavalry tend to be a little bit low morale since he went with the cheapest option for both classes, so essentially you have the cheapest melee cav with the bandit variant, you have the cheapest shot cav with the peasant variant here, and then the crossbow unit being on horseback are also not that expensive. So it's rather a cheap army, so I'm kind of worried about the morale situation, especially since we have Wen Chou on the other side, especially have no protection from that roar since you don't have any commander general. But Zhou Yu is going to be quite useful as well. He's unbreakable, also double health, quite defensive and powerful for strategists. Zheng Jiang, if upgraded fully, has her fatigue immune axe, has a nice dagger throw, which matches Sun Ren's piercing, or Heartseeker, I think her name, which is a piercing arrow shot that deal massive damage. So perhaps you can harass a bit since the army on the left will be a bit static. You could perhaps use your ability to the fullest before charging in, just to force the left side to move out of position if you have a little bit of patience, and then hopefully picking things off with your cavalry. Now typically when you see an all cavalry comp in multiplayer, you want to support them with generals that have morale shocks because you want to deal with enemy spear units by making them rout, so then your cavalry can just chase them down. In this case, I don't think Sun Ren actually have Roar of the Beast, and Zheng Jiang obviously does not have that ability, and neither does Zhou Yu. So it's going to be kind of interesting to see how the army on the right can even deal with the stored shields on the left, because if they just go into turtle formation, there's really nothing the army on the right can do. So let's hop in here and see how this battle plays out. Alrighty, so as we hop into battle here, we're once again paused on the tactical map with an overview to see how both team has deployed. And the first thing we're going to do once again is take a look at the generals to see what tier they are. And Sun Ren here is going to be in the 3rd tier with all her abilities and gold items. Zheng Jiang is actually going to be in the 1st tier without her gold weapon. Actually, she has a bronze weapon, bronze horse, and the only ability she picked up is Tenacity of Steel. This will weaken her by quite a bit because her gold axe, the Red Sisters, actually present her with fatigue immunity. And having the bronze variant obviously not only weakens her damage, but her overall stats, and she doesn't get any of her unique abilities, which includes a very nice champion ability and her dagger throw. Zhou Yu is tier 3 with his gold weapon. Zhou Yu is going to be unbreakable, and he's actually double health as a strategist. Very, very powerful. And the most useful aspect of Zhou Yu in multiplayer and in the campaign is that he comes with Ripple of Perspective, which grants 5,000 range forest spotting, preventing enemy from using stock units against you. In this case, you can't even hide in the forest. So the green team, which is Bananafishbones, is going to have trouble hiding here because he's going to be exposed from the get-go by the Ripple of Perspective. Now, on Bananafishbone's side, we have Zhang Liang, tier 3. We have Ventral hiding here in the back, also tier 3. And Shi Xie, also tier 3. Shi Xie's ability Turning the Tide will be quite clutch if you can route a few enemy units within your range to give all your units quite a bit of damage boost and morale boost as well. He also has double health, but he's not unbreakable. So both sides have a pretty powerful strategist in terms of their combat capabilities, but Zhou Yu is going to be a bit ahead. Now looking at the units here, we know that Zhou Yu has 6 units of mounted crossbowmen, 3 on each flank. They have been upgraded to rank 3. And Sun Ren has the Shock Peasant Raider, all upgraded to rank 10. That is overkill. I think we mentioned in our previous battles that upgrading melee units, even if they're cavalry, they're melee combat units, doesn't give you a lot of value. Very little increase in terms of attack rate, a little bit of evasion, and mostly just morale. Although Peasant Raiders could benefit from a morale boost, I don't think it's where the money should have gone. You could have kept these at rank 1 and bought Zhengjiang her gold axe instead. Now Zhengjiang's going to have Bandit Marauders, which is another cavalry unit. These are melee cavalry. These are rank 1, at least as I can see. Yes, they're all rank 1. So he did not go and upgrade them. So Terracotta Warriors running a pure cavalry comp, 6 range cav, 6 melee cav, and 6 shot cav with 3 pretty decent generals. Sun Ren, damage-wise, not so high, but very fast attack rate in terms of dual swords. Zhou Yu, very resilient, being double health with Unbreakable. The gold sword is also a little weak, but attack rate's a little bit low. Zhengjiang could have been very powerful with her dual axe, but in this case, she's actually super weak. Then taking a look at what Bananafishbone has, he has cramped his units all together here in the forest with guerrilla deployment. On Zhang Liao, he has spear units from the Yellow Turban faction, store shields, gallants of the people protecting his front, and they're guarding the crossbowmen and archers, which are probably on Shi Xie. And then finally we have Ventral with Xiongnu Noble Cav, which is sort of Yuan Shao faction's unique unit. These are pretty excellent melee cavalry options, good charge, good damage, but these are the only 2 cavalry units present in the army. The rest of the army are Northern Veteran Saber Infantry, which are pretty cost-efficient Saber Infantry options. A couple of... oh, he has a Saber Defector, that's probably from Zhang Liang. Actually, that's a Yellow Turban unit. And then Northern Saber Infantry, the lesser version of the Northern Veteran Saber Infantry, and he has 2 of those as well. There is a rank up on this unit in particular, so he's probably used up whatever extra change he had left over to just upgrade one of the units. Actually, he has a few units. He did put most of the money into range unit, which is wise because you actually get a little bit more stat boost on those. Okay, so he did upgrade his range units here. Now I wonder if he's going to use the fire arrow because he is sitting in a forest and he will burn himself. The crossbowmen do not have the ability to use fire arrows, so they can't do much. I'm actually pretty eager to see how this mobile army from Terracotta Warrior is going to do against this very static army here from Bananafishbones. So let's get this battle started and check things out. We'll dive down into a close-up if things get hot on the front line, or else it's better to look at the tactical map and see how these cavalry flank. We have the melee cav move in first, which is smart because the enemy range. Now they're trying to reposition here after seeing how the enemy's laid out. The crossbow cavalry actually would outrange most of the cavalry, most of the range option here. They will match the crossbowmen here, 220 range, 220 range, so they could pick off some of the archers if they want, but they're not. They're getting hit by the enemy crossbow. As you can see, the ammo signs starting to hit up. Trying to flank, they put down some cow traps behind, try to slow them down. Turtle formation to absorb the crossbow damage, pretty smart. The forest is also going to stop a lot of the range damage as well. It's about maneuvering, finding weaknesses with this mobile cavalry army. You want to get in some good charges, basically out micro your opponent. Running across the face of the enemy range, he's trying to rotate his range units to get a couple shots. Now I wonder if he's going to try to throw in perhaps a Heartseeker in here, because they're so cramped. The Heartseeker might actually pierce multiple targets, including generals, which could have been the same thing with the poison dagger from her, but she doesn't have it. Alright, we got the flank move complete. We have a range block chance being boosted for now. They're getting picked off. This is not exactly what you want to do with your range cav. They're pretty decently spread out. We got our first charge attempt. Let's dive in here. The spear can't get back in time. The cav's trying to run away. Oh, smart use of the shield wall formation to absorb the charge and the turtling here. So even though they are melee infantry, they will not take any charge bonus here. So they bought some time. It's not synchronized. The melee cav went in here. We got our first roar ability from Ventral, who has the Roar, which is a massive morale decrease, and most of these units, being bandit units, have very low morale and they're routing already. They will bounce back. It doesn't last that long. Alright, now we got the second wave of the shock cavalry coming in. Perhaps that would have been kind of smart to delay the 2 charges, since we do have that roar. Ooh, we got the piercing arrow coming through. I don't think it hit any of the generals, but it definitely wrecked some of the units. So Zhou Yu should be joining the fight. Zhou Yu is actually quite capable as a fighter. They have cracked the back line. They're still peppering them with shots in the front. These spear has to just sit here. Once these cavalry rebound from their morale shock, they should be able to do a second charge as they're pulling out right now. They're drawing a couple of the melee cav out because they're on chase. So now they can pick them off. They play it right. Zhou Yu's still not doing much. I mean, he has a lot of useful abilities. He should be in here reducing morale. They're trying to shield up all around. Trying to put himself into a square formation here to reduce some of the shots. Circles now. But the cavalry's coming in from over here, coming in hot. And if they can overwhelm this Xiongnu cav here and destroy these infantry. Another roar. So the second time. He has 4 roars. If Zhou Yu would just get in there and use his ability, this could go a lot faster. Alright, so we have the range units coming out of formation get shots up. The cavalry should really switch to melee too and just rush in here and kill off these range units while they're not protected. That second roar did so much damage. The quality of the cavalry that Terracotta Warrior is using just doesn't match up and it's getting outmaneuvered. What he needed to do is either have a strategist that can shut down enemy abilities and charge in together, or have a commander that can boost the morale and also present abilities that give unbreakable to cavalry. Because right now he's charging through all these cow traps. Most of the infantry is untouchable at this point, and he already lost most of his cavalry. Giving Peasant Raider a level 10 increase with extra morale helped, but I don't know how much. If he can bring down these generals, especially Ventral, so he can't roar his final 2 roars, even then, it's hard to imagine how his cavalry can ever kill most of these spear units, since his generals don't have any smash abilities. Right? We do have 1 Flame of Phoenix, that's it, but she's routing right now. Zhou Yu's finally joined the battle. Oh, friendly fire? No? No, okay, it's a good hit. Good hit. I thought I almost hit Zhou Yu, but good hit. Clean hit on the Heartseeker. And Ventral took some damage. See if we can bring him down, actually. Nothing going on over here. They're just tanking arrows. The crossbow is just doing their thing. Zhou Yu is trying to dive in here. I have not seen the Wisdom River use this whole battle. We got Turning the Tide active because there's units being routed. So Shi Xie combined with Ventral is doing great. Still no Wisdom the River. They have ran out of cavalry except for their range cav, and even then the range cav is trading fire with their crossbow units a little bit. So things doesn't look good for Terracotta Warrior. Joey's still trying to break this unit down. Now they're trying to avoid some of the crossbow damage. They're starting to bounce back. He's just sitting in the fire. It's burning him. Alright, they're trying to regroup. Does she still have a Heartseeker charge? She might still have one more. I think we saw 2 use. Alright, if they can bring down Ventrol before he can do much. I mean, he's already done his job. He's roared again. In this case, Zhengjiang and Sun Ren, who are not unbreakable, will suffer a bit. And you can see them start wavering, especially after getting damaged. Alright, with both of these generals on the run, if Zhang Liao can just stick on Sun Ren so she cannot bounce back, because if she's left alone with this much health, she will be able to bounce back, but if she's getting damaged, she can't. Yeah, the crossbow cavalry getting picked off by the enemy crossbowmen. I mean, you gotta think about it, these are 1/4 unit size compared to infantry, so they're gonna get plucked off in a direct trade fire situation. Finally, Zhou Yu has used Wisdom River, but too little too late, and he only got 1 general. So it's just unbreakable Zhou Yu about to get slaughtered by all these infantry. We really don't need to stay in formation now. They should just be charging him. Army loss has kicked in for all the units. Now, Zhou Yu's tanky because of high health and unbreakable, but without any offensive abilities, he's really a support character. And he wasn't able to do his support role here. So we'll just be seeing him get slaughtered by all these infantry. Poor Zhou Yu here. He's not even fighting back. He's such a slow attack rate here, 15. And down he goes. And a Pyrrhic victory. Well, I personally feel like Bananafishbone did fairly well. He set up his army in a very protective stance and was able to withstand the cavalry charges. Even though the cavalry did find an opening, the backside was the opening. But the way they charged in and how the roar just kind of wrecked the first charge by the bandit cavalry, the melee cav, they're the ones with probably the worst charge bonus, being melee cav and being the bandit variant. They probably shouldn't have came in first. I understand the idea of them absorbing range damage, but the range fire was not hitting them. The range fire was trading fire with the crossbow cavalry, so that was not helpful. They probably should have had more patience and had the crossbow cavalry find more angles. And then once the range units actually came out of the protection, they should have put Terracotta should have put the range cavalries on melee and just charge in there and just take out those range units in general, because the infantry line was pretty static over here. But a couple of roars, not well timed and not getting abilities in on time, cheaping out on Zhengjiang while paying the money on the peasant raiders, not the right move in my opinion. It was just a hard battle to win, given that they had so many infantry that was untouched, and they were able to neutralize most of the cavalry advantage with just 2 sword unit plus 2 cavalry unit and a couple good general abilities. So that's that, and we'll take a look at the post-battle damage counts. So checking things out here, as you can see, the infantry didn't do much. Their job was just to tank. These 5 infantry in particular, being spear units, were always going to be a problem for all cavalry comp if they don't provide an opening in terms of getting outmaneuvered into a rear flank or getting caught by a Flame of the Phoenix by an enemy general. they were going to be fine for the entire battle. These two cavalry also did a great job of just being present at the enemy charge to halt their charge. They took massive damages. I think the infantry here also did that same role, but they bought time for the morale damage to kick in. You don't always have to do damage to the enemy unit. If you could do damage to enemy morale and they have no answer, in this case there is no answer because they went with Zhengjiang. If they had used a commander, it would have been a lot better, because if his goal was to get a few melee cav in there, a commander with the boost to presenting unbreakable, range block chance increase, both of those abilities will give unbreakable to your units for 30 seconds. You could overcome his roar. So basically when you charge in, activate that, you eat up the roar, and the roar doesn't do any morale damage because all your units will be unbreakable for those moments. So because that counter wasn't present, and the fact that these being bandit units are quite weak, these are also the unupgraded ones, and they went in there first, they pretty much weren't able to do very much in this fight. And then these being peasant raiders, also very poor in quality, had the same exact issue on the second charge. They waited too long that he got his second roar back before they collapsed into the enemy. So those two things occurring together really weakened what potentially could have been a very good cavalry comp here. I think if you're going to play cavalry comp, you want more premium cavalry, you want shot cavalry, you want to just go in there and do damage. And not only will you want your cavalry to do damage, you actually want to run vanguard generals. So Zhou Yu here is an odd choice. Zhou Yu's pretty defensive choice, usually played by armies that's set up like this, where you're afraid the enemy might be running a Yanbai Hu, who could be invisible running up to you with stock, so you run Zhou Yu to have the vision to know where enemy units are. In this case, being an all cavalry comp, you're not scared of stock units because you're the one who has the mobility to maneuver around the map to find targets. None of your units are really fragile by themselves. You can always run away. So this is a bit of a waste. If Terracotta Warrior actually was able to run more of morale shock army comp with a bunch of vanguard unit that actually had different roars, like Sun Ce, like Zhang Fei, then they can go in and obliterate the morale of spear units, and when they're on the run, then your cheap cavalry units can actually chase them down and make sure they never bounce back. And that includes generals who are not unbreakable. In this case, the plan just didn't come together, and this is the result of the match. But anyways, a big congratulations for Bananafishbones for his win and advancing to round 2, and thanks Terracotta Warrior for participating. So on to the next battle. Bye!